Hello, welcome back. We're looking at simple interest again, but this time we're focusing on non-annual periods of time. So in the real world, money can be borrowed for non-annual periods of time. Maybe you just need to borrow some money for a few days or a few months. So we need to know how to calculate loans or investments that are not annual. Now the simple interest formula that we used is designed for annual time periods. If we want to use non-annual periods of time, we will need to write the time that we have as a fraction of a year. Before we get started, it's important you understand what these words mean. So annual means one time a year, semi-annual means twice a year, quarterly means something happens 4 times a year, monthly is 12 times a year, weekly is 52 times a year, and if something happens daily, there's 365 times it happens in a year. You might notice that little asterisk next to the 365. That's because leap years have 366 days. Now don't worry about this unless the question specifically points it out to you. 99% of the time you will not have to use leap years. So just stick with 365 days if you're asked a question about days. Let's look at an example. Ben invests $400 in his bank account at an interest rate of 3.1% per annum for 3 months. So how much interest can he expect to earn over these 3 months? Well, we start off like normal with our P, our R, and our T. Now we know the principal is going to be $400. That's pretty straightforward. We're pretty good at working out the rate in our heads now, so we know it's going to be 0.031. But how do we write 3 months as a fraction of a year? Well, there are 12 months in a year. So the money was invested for 3 months out of 12 months. So the fraction we're going to use is just going to be 3 out of 12. Now you can simplify that if you want to 1 over 4. That's up to you. You do what you want. But I'm just going to stick with the fraction as it is. 3 out of 12 months. If we substitute these numbers into our formula and we grab our calculator, please make sure you put brackets around the 3 over 12. Otherwise you might get very weird answers because of BIMDAS. So if you're going to use your calculator, make sure you type it just as you see it. 400 times 0.031 times bracket 3 over 12 close bracket. If you type that in correctly, as in you type it in properly, 100% all good, you will get $3.10. So Ben earned $3.10 in interest over these 3 months. Let's look at another example here. Debbie invested $8,000 in her bank account at an interest rate of 4.8% per annum for 168 days. How much interest can she expect to earn over this time? Again, we're going to set up our P, our R, and our T. We know the principal is $8,000. We know the rate is going to be 0.048. So let's think in our head. 168 days. Days. How many days are in a year? Well, there are 365 days in a normal year. So our fraction that we're going to use is 168 out of 365. So let's substitute those numbers in, grab our calculator, make sure to remember those brackets, and when we type it all in, we should get $176.75. So Debbie earned $176.75 in interest over those 168 days. Thanks again for watching. Hopefully that makes sense. Just remember, if you have a non-annual period of time, you must write it as a fraction of a year. And don't forget to put those brackets around the time, because if you forget those on your calculator, you're going to get a really whack answer. Thanks for watching. See you next time.